Yeah, so the Lakers season ended last night at the hands of Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves. Some might
Mm-hmm.
say Rudy Gobert.
Mm-hmm.
JJ Redick had a similar scheme. He played his starters a lot of minutes. They came
Yep.
closer at the end, but then kind of ran out of gas. They couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how'd you get this series so wrong? You said they were
So,
going to win this one. They obviously didn't.
well, yeah, and I said Lakers. I said my favorite bet was Lakers minus a game and a half, meaning
Yeah,
Lakers in 4, 5, or 6. And when I was giving the analysis of that bet, I said I didn't even really consider the possibility of the Lakers losing the series as the reason the bet didn't come in. I thought it was because the Lakers, maybe they win in 7, but I thought they would be hard fought games. The Lakers were clearly better. So I do want to start with me because I got to, a whiff this strong, you got to figure out, you got to kind of do a autopsy, a post-mortem of your own takes. And the number one thing that I clearly overestimated going into this postseason was how dynamic and unstoppable the Lakers' offense would be. I thought there was a little too much attention paid to the Lakers' defensive deficiencies, not because I thought they'd be a great defense, but because I thought it was pretty clear we had proof of concept that the Lakers' defense could be average, that the Lakers' defense could be fine, and that if the Lakers' defense is fine, even given their size limitations, that this offense with Luka and LeBron was going to be a top 3 in the league over the court, net rating wise or offensive rating wise offense. And it was nothing close to that. And so that was whiff number one. Whiff number one was that the Lakers offense would put the other team under such pressure to keep scoring and to keep pace that a younger Timberwolves team, a Timberwolves team that only has one true superstar, a Timberwolves team that has a few guys who are max players who have long playoff histories, but the playoff histories are, you know, checkered in Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle, that the weight of LeBron and Luka on the offensive side of the ball would be too much for him. None of that happened. We didn't have a single game this series where LeBron and Luka were both outstanding on the offensive end. And we did have last night, and we'll talk obviously more about the individual parties involved here shortly, but last night was the first time in an elimination game that LeBron wasn't outstanding in a decade. Honest to God, if you go through, it was somewhat jarring to see if you look at what LeBron James, who averages 35 points per game in his career in elimination games, what he did last night in comparison. Like, if I can just quickly give you the game logs, last year against Denver, he had 2 games facing elimination against Denver. The first game, he had 35 and 4. The next game, and because they won it, he had 39 and 11. The year before, facing elimination against Denver, he had, I think, 30 in the first half, and he finished with 40, 10, and 9. When they lost to Phoenix in a game they really didn't have much of a chance. If you remember, that's the game Anthony Davis started and then played like 30 seconds, then came out of the game. LeBron, 29, 9, and 7. Facing elimination, they never faced elimination en route to the bubble in the championship run. And then if you look at game 7 against Boston, or game 6 and 7 against Boston, facing elimination because they're down 3-2. 46, 8, and 11, 35, 15, and 9. You can go his whole career. It's like, okay, we're facing elimination. I have to ramp it up. Here's the part that last night informed me on. He fired those bullets over the weekend. He felt correctly, clearly, we were facing elimination in game 4. And in game 3, he had the 38, 10, and 4, and they blew it at the end. In game 4, he had 27, 12, and 8, and the defensive stops at the end. And in game 5, the 40, it was a weird LeBron game because he had 3 of his most explosive offensive plays of those 3 dunks that he's had all postseason. But he just didn't have the juice last night. So LeBron didn't have the juice. Luka's performance last night, even more shocking. Because Luka has been a back against the wall, I'm going to F you up. Everybody's tough when they're up.
Luka seemed pretty messed up, like basically this whole series, though.
Yeah.
Whether it was sicknesses or yesterday, I feel like he came out with like some back spasm type of
well,
thing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he got hurt, but he didn't. If it was, he had looked awesome and until the hard fall, that would be one thing. But that's not what it was. Like, he was relatively passive in the first quarter, which is when he has crushed. It felt early on like LeBron and Luka were both like, okay, let's conserve energy in the first quarter so we have more in the fourth quarter. And at first it looked like a bad strategy because they were down 14. But then once, despite all that, they were able to claw their way back into the game and actually take a 1-point lead, you thought, oh, this could work out. But LeBron didn't have the extra gear and Luka didn't have it really, I don't want to say the whole series, but the last 3 games. Since he got sick, Luka didn't have the Luka playoff gear. 28, 7, and 9 on 7 of 18 from the field for Luka is by his standards a bad playoff game. Now, the flip side to that, and where credit must be given, is the other guys are paid too. And the Timberwolves' defensive plan against Luka and against LeBron was outstanding. The Timberwolves trusting, you know what? Austin Reeves, if you beat us, you beat us. We don't think you're going to beat us. It was smart. It worked. And so I'm not going to kill Austin Reeves. He had a rough series. But also, the Lakers shouldn't have needed Austin Reeves to be great to force a game 6 against the Timberwolves. And I understand that the Timberwolves are now 21-5 in their last 26. And I think they have 10 or it's either 10 or 15. I don't remember. Double-digit wins in that stretch. I get that maybe I am still, even to a degree, underrating or disrespecting the Timberwolves. But this Lakers team, it was not, and this is what's so frustrating about the way the season ended. It was not some hope and a prayer media creation. They had almost the exact same record against the Western Conference as Oklahoma City did. They were a dominant team at home where they lost 2 of these games. They had, I think, the 4th best record in the league against the best teams in the league. We saw them at the end of the year against a full strength Oklahoma City team, blow them out and then go toe to toe with them a week before the playoffs. They were rested. All of those things happened. And while LeBron did not have a great game 5, you did get great LeBron performances in games 2, 3, and 4. So it wasn't that, the old man slowed down at the end. He did at the very end. And they still just got annihilated in this series. The thing about last night that made usually DeMonze, if a team loses a closeout game that, is a one possession game with a few minutes left, it's heart-wrenching. I got to tell you, it's not how I felt watching the Lakers squander that game at the very end, because they were incredibly lucky last night that they weren't blown out. Anthony Edwards was 0 for 11 from 3. The Timberwolves as a whole shot 47 threes and made 7 of them. Think about that. They were 15% from 3. So Ant was 5 of 19 from the field. And that's another weird thing for Ant, because he's going to get his flowers today, as he should. But it reminded me actually a lot of Game 7 against Denver, the biggest win of Anthony Edwards' career. He was 6 of 24 from the field, 2 of 10 from 3, had 16 points. It was his worst game of the series, and they came back and beat Denver anyway. Last night, he's 5 of 19 from the field, 0 of 11 from 3, has 15 points, and it's the game that he knocks off Luka and LeBron, which is a testament to the Timberwolves and a testament to Julius Randle was excellent. This entire series, Julius Randle was reliable, and obviously Rudy Gobert's 9 offensive rebounds, 24 total rebounds, him scoring 27 points in a playoff game was unfathomable. And you can say, oh, listen, the Lakers don't play a center. The Lakers haven't played a center all series. Rudy Gobert's stat lines prior to last night: 2 and 6, 6 and 6, 1 and 3, 5 and 10, and then 27 and 24. Prior to last night in the series, Rudy Gobert had 14 points, 25 rebounds in the 4 games. Last night he had 27 points, 24 rebounds.
But not having a big guy in there is going to come back to bite you eventually, right?
Well,
Clearly.
So clearly it did. But the point that I'm making is, and you guys know from what I was saying earlier in the series, that I thought, and even though the Lakers were in a tough spot, one of the things that had worked out for them was that the Timberwolves, and we talked about this, that even though the Lakers were playing was 6'8" and below, Rudy wasn't killing them. That they were getting away with playing that small because the Timberwolves didn't want to give Rudy Gobert the ball. And I'll be honest, last night, they didn't give him the ball that much. It was all on offense, not
second
all,
chance efforts.
but it was on offensive rebounds. It was on putbacks. It wasn't a lot of they passed it to Rudy Gobert. And so a guy who has in his 70, how many games is his playoff career? 74 game playoff career, who went into last night with 5 career 20-point playoff games and 0 career 25-point playoff games, puts 27 on your head. A guy who in his 74 career playoff games, once going into last night, had more than 18 rebounds in a game in the playoffs, puts 24 rebounds on your head. It was a dominant performance by him. It was a great performance by by Julius Randle. And that's the other piece. Jaden McDaniels in foul trouble immediately, and it didn't matter. So this was it felt to me like, and this is not an excuse, and it might even be an indictment. It felt to me like the Lakers felt they lost the series on Sunday. And that they came out because there was no energy in the first quarter. It was something of a miracle.
Minnesota was leaving it up there for grabs.
Yes.
100%. They were playing pretty complacent with the lead, taking a lot of deep shots instead of driving.
It was a miracle. It's exactly right, DeMaze, that this game was close late. If Minnesota just has a C- shooting night instead of the worst shooting night any team will have in the playoffs over the next 3 years, which is really what they did. The Lakers are down 25.
Right.
And so the credit to the Timberwolves, man. And
what about the Mark Williams trade, man? Like,
well,
how would that have changed this?
Here's the thing. What they gave up in the Mark Williams trade was Dalton Connect, a first-round pick, and I think a swap. So there is no argument to be made like, well, for this series and this postseason, that would have hurt you because Dalton Connect got 0 minutes.
Right.
You know what I mean? So since the guy you traded, you never played, in the short term, and Mark Williams took a bit of a victory lap, I understand, on Twitter. I get that. It certainly felt like, and when they didn't get Mark Williams, they signed Alex Lynn, who played 0 minutes. Now, Maxi Kleba comes off the bench after not playing in months because of his injury. JJ gives him 5 minutes, and more on JJ shortly. It sure feels like they would have had a better chance now in retrospect in this series. They had Mark Williams. We never saw him play with him, and now that powder is dry for, a move this coming summer potentially. But I can't pick a team to win the championship and then when they get popped in round 1 and 5, be like, well, here's all the obvious flaws with the roster. Like, that's bullshit. I knew Mark Williams wasn't on the team. I knew how big the Timberwolves were when I said after game 82 of the season, that I thought the bracket fell perfectly for the Lakers. And now you look at it and you say, well, that was wrong. Obviously. So no, but at its core, people are going to, I think, focus on the wrong things. I think what happened to the Lakers, in my opinion, is 3 games of this series, and they scored less than 100 points. 4 games of the series, they scored less than 105. The one game they won, they only scored 94. And folks are going to say the issue was they were never going to be good enough defensively. Maybe. But the issue in this series was an offense that the only way to look at this Lakers team as a legitimate contender was going to be they have an elite offense. That offense was never elite. It was never even very good. And it's just remarkable to me that it's the same offense I saw a few weeks ago drop 126 in OKC in a game OKC wanted, and then have like 110 with 6 minutes left in OKC against that defense in the game Luka got ejected in. The Lakers role players all had some struggles. Luka obviously wasn't himself. LeBron ran out of gas in every one of these fourth quarters. And that's how you lose in 5.
Given it, Austin, I feel like you did really go easy on Austin Reeves. If those guys aren't going to show up, then who has to show up? I think it has to be Austin.
Well, no, listen. So Austin Reeves for the series was 16, 5, and 3 on 41-32 splits. It's a bad series. The reason I'm not focusing on that is because I just think that would be kind of bullshit, in that I didn't pick the Lakers. People are, I think people that are discerning listeners to how I do this stuff are maybe at times surprised at how fair I try to be to what is honest commentary. I didn't pick the Lakers because I thought Austin Reeves was going to cook. Right. So and so this was the first playoff run of his career where a lot was expected of him. That's where
That's fair.
And he didn't listen. He wasn't great, but he's a young player who doesn't make a ton of money. Who you just I don't like when stars are awesome, their team loses, and people then blame the star. The example of that would have been if after the Pacers
Giannis
beat the Bucks, if people were like, Giannis needed to do more. Giannis did fucking everything he could have done, and they got beat. So like Bill James used to say, bad teams have an amazing ability to blame their best players for their biggest problems. And so I try not to do that. But what I also try not to do is when a team that I thought was going to win because of the overwhelming star power at the very top doesn't win, and those two stars are good, but not what I thought they would be, then be like, man, needed more from your third option. Like and so it's not like that I'm trying to protect Austin. It's nothing like that. It's that he wasn't very good, but Austin Reeves playing at a C- level again should not be the reason you're going home in 5. And that's where we end up.